So let's begin by the practice and the readings. Pablo Rinpoche at the beginning of day 27 has a wonderful motivation. He says, although we were born amid the swamp of samsara and are uncontrollably bound by karma and afflictive emotions, with the mind of precious Bodhichitta, we can transform this impure body into the priceless jewel of a Buddha's body, adorned with signs and indications, which is analogous to an elixir that can transform base metals into gold. Set your motivation by thinking, for the sake of enacting that transformation, I'm going to listen to this king of instructions. So now I'm going to share the screen so we can say our preliminary prayers. And as I mentioned before, Geshe often says the Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer before he begins, but we're going to do it again. Anyway, 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Now a short mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru for continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. O holy and perfect pure Lama, from the clouds of compassion that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please release a rain of vast and profound Dharma, precisely in accordance with the needs of those to be trained. Idam Guru Ratamandalakam Niryatayami. Now we're going to do something different this evening because one of our precious members of the Kadamba Center just had heart surgery, Ryan Draper. So let's say some Medicine Buddha mantras. So first we'll start with the verse of praise right here. And then let's say the long mantra together, 3 times. And then the short mantra right here, we'll say that for a whole mala. And then we'll say a dedication. Compassion.
Before we start, can we just update everyone that the surgery went well and he's doing well?
That's wonderful news. Thank you, Donna, for sharing it. Don't see. Bhagavan, with equal compassion for all, whose name when merely heard dispels the suffering of the low realms, dispel of disease in the 3 poisons, I prostrate to Medicine Buddha, sapphire light. And of course, this is also for everyone on our prayer list. Okay, so let's just say this 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanze Guru Vedurya Tabarazaya Tathagata Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanze Guru Vedurya Tabarazaya Tathagata Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Bekanze Maha Bekanze Rata Samugate Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanze Guru Vedurya Tabarazaya Tathagata Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Bekanze Maha Bekanze Rata Samugate Soha. Teyata Om Bekanze. Teyata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Raja Samugate Soha. Due to the merits of this virtuous action, may I become a medicine Buddha and bring all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. So we were on day 27, point 4, presentation of a lifetime's practice in summary, and we are in we're at the end of the force of familiarity, and Geshe prefers that we say power instead of force, so I'll be saying power instead. So we ended at the quote, "The path of meditation is reflecting again and again, fathoming and gaining a definite understanding. As it states, we should improve our mind's familiarity." The power of the white seed, engaging in accumulation and purification as the causes of developing the two types of bodhicitta, is the embodiment of everything that exists in this power of white virtue of Dharma, the power of destruction. We should see that self-cherishing is the true enemy, and then meditate on the two types of bodhicitta as the antidote. It is the only means of destroying it, which is called the destruction of self-cherishing. The power of prayer. Substitute the dedication prayer to accommodate your roots of virtue. Furthermore, in the evening, when going to bed, look back on the day's activities and observe whatever virtue or negativity you have engaged in, such as study, memorizations, gathering in the debate courtyard, and so on, and examine whether or not you improve your intellect and practice virtue. If you engage in virtue, meditate on joy, and then make extensive and pure prayers that these actions may become the cause of your complete enlightenment. If you didn't engage in wholesome acts, engage in the appropriate confession and restraint, together with the four opponent powers, and apply them to the negative karma you have accumulated since beginningless time in samsara. For example, if a traveler is leaving early in the next morning, he should make preparations to depart that evening. Likewise, when the previous Kadampas would go to their sleeping quarters in the evening, they would say, even if we die right now, we are going to stick to this aspiration. And deciding that there was a very good chance that they wouldn't wake up the next morning, they would even turn their teacups upside down. When you are not separated from all five of these forces, it is called equalizing your life and your practice. Applying the practice of the five powers at the time of death. The root text states, cherish the conduct of the five powers alone as instructions of transference of consciousness of mind training. Although there is a great deal of bragging about the oral instructions for transference of consciousness at the time of death, this is the most profound. For that, there are also 5 points. The power of intention. When you're approaching the time of death, think, now is the time of my death. Therefore, I shall practice the transference of consciousness from within the state of bodhicitta by equalizing and exchange self with others. Also, repeatedly formulate an extremely powerful intention by thinking, I am not going to forget my bodhicitta at the moment of death and even in the intermediate state. The power of the white seed. When it is time to die, once you forsake your mind of attachment, you should perform acts of generosity to the fields of accumulating merit by making offerings upward to the three jewels and by giving offerings downward to evil spirits. It is a great fault if you develop a mind of attachment to your wealth and possessions. Previously, a bhikshu had attachment to his begging bowl, and when he died, he was reborn as a snake inside his begging bowl. A merchant had a pouch of gold that he was attached to, and when he died, he was born as a snake wrapped around the gold. A woman was attached to her own body, and when she died, she was reborn as a snake within her previous aggregates. A bhikshu was attached to some silver and was reborn as a frog after his death. We also are in danger of being reborn in such situations through polishing our teacups out of attachment. Previously, an old monk from Tashiakil Monastery in Amdo was attached to the type of butter mixed in his tea, found it difficult to stop breathing at the time of his death. Thus, if we develop attachment and craving for our possessions at the time of death, we will be like a bird with a rock strapped to his legs trying to fly in the sky. Therefore, it is very important that we abandon our attachment to our loved ones, wealth, enjoyments, and so on. The power of destruction. You should engage in confession, right down to your friends whom you may have offended. Engage in confession and restraint from your previous negative actions through various avenues while employing compassion and restraint. If your Lama is available, you should request an empowerment. And if he isn't, you should perform self-initiation on your own to restore your Bodhisattva vows, Tantra vows, and so forth. The power of prayer. Combine with great sincerity whatever prayers you know for quickly developing precious bodhicitta in your mental continuum, and so forth. The power of familiarity. Make an effort to recognize in advance the stages of dissolution at the time of death. If you are a practitioner of the generation and completion stages of Tantra, once the elements sequentially dissolve you should practice transference through bringing the three bodies into the path. Mind training meditators should practice transference within a state of practice in giving and taking while meditating on bodhicitta. Although we have well-known practices of reciting hik and pe for projecting us upward to the pure lands and the higher realms, I am concerned that they may project people down to the lower realms. However, if we practice transference while in a state of meditating on bodhicitta, we will not go to the lower realms, and there is no doubt that we will be reborn in the pure lands and so forth. Geshe said, in reference to giving and taking, even as I am now dying, I don't practice anything other than this. While Geshe was uttering a teaching on equalizing and exchanging self with others, he departed from his throne, that is, he died. If we meditate properly on mind training, although we may wish to be reborn in the lower realms, we won't be reborn in the lower realms. Geshe gained complete mastery of bodhicitta. When he was about to pass away, he said, in this world there is no more melodious sound than the sound of mind training. Therefore, make that sound in my ear. Also to a close disciple, Geshe said, make offerings. It seems I am not going to accomplish what I had in mind. His close disciple inquired, Lama Rinpoche accomplished the Dharma in one life. Therefore, what intention did you not accomplish? Chekawa responded, although I have been praying to be reborn in the lowest hell for the welfare of living beings, I have been receiving signs that I'm going to the Pure Lands. Therefore, I am continuing to make prayers to be reborn in hell for the welfare of living beings. What need is there to mention what will happen if we meditate on bodhicitta? If we simply have a benevolent mind at the time of death, we won't go to the lower realms. Previously in Jasa, on the Yarlung River, there was a boat with many people on board, including 6 months and one layperson, so that the leather coracle was heavy. Therefore, it capsized. When this happened, a messenger decided to jump in the river despite risking death. However, he did not die, and instead, auspicious signs occurred, such as a rainbow emerging from the place where he crossed and so forth. Also, according to a historical account, a mother and her child were swept away by the water's current, and as this occurred, they developed loving thoughts for each other. Both of them died in the water and were reborn in the God realms. Therefore, although there are many famous oral instructions for the time of death, none is more profound than this Mahayana mind training transference of consciousness. Regarding our physical posture, since our compassionate teacher practiced transference while lying in the lion posture when he passed into nirvana, this physical posture alone is sufficient for transference. Next, it developed the three intentions and so forth as presented in the Lamrim scriptures. Thus, you will definitely develop bodhicitta through a ritual if you have reached a point where you have developed a mere partial experience of bodhicitta through meditating according to the previous explanations. If it is ripened through a ritual for adopting a bodhicitta, you'll definitely adopt bodhicitta. However, whether or not you adopt a bodhicitta through ritual depends upon whether or not you have developed it through experience and not through words alone. If you develop bodhicitta through ritual, it will be stabilized and increased. You can receive instructions on the precepts and so on. Thus, it is extremely vast. This should be explained during the actual section on how to adopt bodhicitta through ritual. Once you are dismissed from your current preparations, you should prepare offerings for the development of bodhicitta tomorrow and sweep the floor of the temple, set out an arrangement of flowers to adorn the master's throne, arrange rows of offerings, and so forth. It is said that the offering should be so vast that your friends would be astonished, and that you should offer 1/6 of your belongings. Ritual for receiving the bodhisattva vows. While bestowing bodhicitta at Samye and Mangyu, Atisha the Great said that those in attendance would not generate bodhicitta because their offerings were inferior. If I had not previously given a discourse on the Lamrim at this point during today's preparation, I would have to bestow a complete commentary on the Lamrim as a preparation once the preliminary rituals were completed. However, at this point, I have already given a deeper explanation on the Lamrim, therefore I do not have to explain it again at this point. Tomorrow we will assemble twice. The Lama does not need to attend during the earlier gathering. Once the Dharma assembly gathers, recite the preliminary rituals. The best would be to read aloud the entire Kangyur. If that is not possible, read sections of the teachings such as the Buddha Ornament Sutra, the Sutra of the Fortunate Eon, and so forth. Offer the 3-section Torma offering. To practice the 100 Torma offering, those who have the lineages should gather to one side and practice the 100 Torma offering extensively, and so forth, to accumulate merit as extensively as possible. After the next session, the lamas and students should all wear the 3 sets of monk's robes and so forth very elegantly for engaging the actual Bodhichitta ceremony. It is the tradition of the guru that after the master performs confession himself, he takes the Bodhisattva vows and so forth. Right now, I'm giving the detailed system of teaching according to the ritual tradition of the 6 preliminary ritual practices. Next are the extensive preparations for generating Bodhichitta and the Lamrim prayers. From the point when that is finished, the guru initiates the ceremony by reciting Buddha, Dharma, Supreme Assembly 3 times, the Supreme Mind of Bodhichitta 3 times, the All-Father and Mother living beings be endowed with happiness, and so forth, together with May our glorious guru have a long life. The chanting master then leads the recitation. In short, may the glorious guru have a long life. Day 28. We must enter the path of Mahayana to attain the state of enlightenment. For that, we must generate Bodhichitta. Generating the mind of supreme enlightenment of the Mahayana is like the seed of a Buddha. Therefore, it determines whether or not we progress toward the state of enlightenment. Also, whether we are heading toward or away from enlightenment depends solely on whether or not we have the precious mind of Bodhichitta. We don't have it, although we may have other good qualities such as the divine eye, the 6 types of clairvoyance, and so forth. We cannot even consider the possibility of attaining enlightenment, and we have not entered the ranks of the Mahayana. In contrast, if you have Bodhichitta, because you have accomplished that mind, even something as insignificant as giving a scrap of food to something like a dog or a hawk becomes the cause of enlightenment and becomes a deed of a bodhisattva. If you have not accomplished that mind of bodhicitta, even practice something like Vyasamaja, the king of Tantras, for 1,000 years will not be included within the Dharma of the Mahayana. If you generate this mind in your mental continuum, even animals such as dogs and pigs that are born in the same place as you will become worthy objects of veneration by gods and humans. According to the previous explanation, at this point, even though we are newly generating bodhicitta in our mental continuum, because of that we already possess good qualities, like a mountain of gold that overpowers Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. For example, this is comparable to the way in which even when a prince is very young, he overpowers the assembly of elder ministers, and the newborn offspring of a Garuda overpowers the assembly of elder birds from other species. When you generate bodhicitta, various signs occur, such as the thrones of the Buddhas trembling and so forth. It is as though you have been born as a new son, as a universal king of all the Buddhas in the 10 directions, whereby they are delighted and fulfill your wishes. Verse describes the benefits as follows. Through churning the milk of the holy Dharma, the essence of butter overflows. Bodhicitta is the only thing that emerges from the heart practice of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Although we may generate an authentic bodhicitta in our mental continuum, if we sequentially train our minds according to the stage of the path of the 3 types of beings, we'll generate it without difficulty. During the section on superior intention, we should generate bodhicitta by thinking, I will accept the responsibility of ensuring that all living beings are endowed with every type of happiness and free of every type of suffering. However, presently I am unable to do such a thing. The Buddha has perfected the 2 purposes of self and other. Therefore, so that I am able to accomplish this state as quickly as possible, I shall attain the state of enlightenment. To support that, once you experience even a slight experience of these 2 aspirations, you generate aspiring bodhicitta. When you listen an uncontrived experience of them, then you have generated engaging bodhicitta. With respect to the distinction of aspiring bodhicitta, Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life states, just as you understand the distinction between wishing to go and going, likewise, the wise should know the distinction between these 2 bodhicittas. Aspiring bodhicitta is analogous to making a wish to go to India once you have considered going, and engaging bodhicitta is like actually setting out on the path. Therefore, aspiring bodhicitta is a thought, I shall attain the state of enlightenment for the welfare of all living beings. The mind that promises to train toward that attainment receives the bodhisattva vows and then trains in the deeds of a bodhisattva is engaging bodhicitta. The teachings in Asanga's bodhisattva level state that someone with a powerful capacity who is incapable of training in the bodhisattva deeds takes aspiring bodhicitta vows. According to Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, you receive bodhisattva vows from the perspective of being able to train in the deeds of a bodhisattva. These 2 traditions should not be mixed together. For the actual acceptance of aspiring bodhicitta through ritual, the disciples kneel on their right knee and hold their hands in prayer at the heart. Visualize that to your left are the 6 classes of mother living beings in the aspect of their tormented dear mother of this life. And to your right are the 6 classes of father living beings, the aspects of your tormented father of this life. Think, no matter what the cost, I shall attain the precious state of enlightenment for the welfare of these beings. For that purpose, I will take the Bodhisattva vows. Also, your guru appears in the aspect of the teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, upon a jeweled throne, and in the cardinal and intermediate directions of space are the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 3 times, like billowing heaps of clouds. At the sides and gateways are directional protectors, fractal beings, and so forth, dwelling in their appropriate directions, who are protecting and assisting you so that you can develop bodhicitta in your mental continuum. At this gesture, there should be a detailed presentation for identifying the ways of gaining conviction in the mind of refuge and so forth. In accordance with the middle-length treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment text, as the preliminary, you recite, Master, please listen to me, 3 times after the guru. You also recite, Master, please listen to me, 3 times in going for refuge, and when the precepts of going for refuge are recited by the master, and so forth. Also, according to the text about the actual ceremony for bodhicitta, you generate bodhicitta by reciting the verses 3 times after the master. Although a Sangha's bodhisattva levels does not teach developing delight in having received the bodhisattva vows, the ceremony will be amended from the teachings of Shantivedava's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Ways of Life, which contains verses for developing delight, beginning with, now my life has borne great fruit, up to, and have become a bodhisattva. As with respect to the training, you recite all my actions, up to shall never bring disgrace. In between the verses, you recite each one after the master. Thus, there are great benefits in generating bodhicitta, and we should dedicate the vast stores of virtuous roots in 3 times, symbolized by that bodhicitta. Furthermore, think, in the future, when Conqueror Maitreya comes to this world, may I be born as the first of his retinue as the Conqueror's son, bodhisattva with intellect and courage. For that purpose, I'm requesting, with my current roots of virtue, to be entrusted to the regent protector Maitreya in the Yuga Cherzan Palace in Tushita. Recite the dedication verse that begins, one day above the mountain of Bogaya, along with one day elevated to the mountain. Next, recite each 4-line shloka beginning with J onward 1 time, and then begin again with a start from the start, and thereby recite it twice. After this assembly completes a 3rd recitation, while the lama's ascendants toss flowers into the air. Imagine that your current objects of meditation, such as generating the mind of supreme enlightenment, so forth, appear in the aspects of clouds of offering that are your roots of virtue of the 3 times, which descend all around Protector Maitreya and Tushita. Regarding the precepts of the mantra vow, of the Tantra vows during the section on precept, you are not permitted to listen to or see those that you have not already received. With respect to the Bodhisattva vows, prior to taking the vows, you should check to determine whether or not you are capable of keeping them, and should learn the precept before requesting the vows, then take them from that perspective. Although you may only be taking precepts of aspiring bodhicitta, there are 4 causes for not deteriorating bodhicitta. So that bodhicitta does not deteriorate in our future lives, abandon the 4 black dharmas, which are not to: 1, deceive your guru through telling lies; 2, cause others to develop regret for the virtue they have performed; 3, disparage bodhisattvas out of anger; and 4, cause deception without a special intention. The opposite of these 4 are to rely upon the 4 white dharmas, which are to: 1, be vigilant in not telling a lie, even through a slight smile; 2, practice to the best of your ability the means of ripening the mental continuums of others and the means of generating bodhicitta; 3, develop the recognition that all living beings are the teacher; and 4, remain honest without deceiving others. We should learn the precepts taught for engaging bodhicitta from Shantivedava's Compendium of Training, Chandra Gomna's 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vows, and so forth. Once we accept the Bodhisattva vows, we should take them 3 times during the day and 3 times during the night without forgetting. Mind-forsaking living beings is the main cause of deteriorating bodhicitta. We do not need to forsake all living beings. If we have a mind forsaking even one living being, we have immediately forsaken our bodhicitta. Therefore, even though it is not appropriate to be close with our body and speech, those who have a bad relationship, through having broken their spiritual bond to our guru and so forth, we should not mentally abandon them. Once we accept aspiring bodhicitta through a ritual, we should strive in the means of accumulating the 2 types of accumulation for the sake of increasing our bodhicitta. Day 29. To give a scriptural citation, the prayer to Maitreya states, turning away from the path of the lower realms. If we generate bodhicitta, the Mahayana, we temporarily turn away from the lower realms and attain the excellent physical form of a god or human. Ultimately, we easily attain the state of omniscience without having to wait too long. In that way, the supreme means of training in that mind of bodhicitta is his king-like instruction, the measure of having generated the mind of bodhicitta and the measure of having generated great compassion. With respect to the measure of having generated great compassion, as I already explained, we obtained it when, by merely Remembering or seeing any type of living being, you naturally develop affectionate love and regard them as extremely precious and pleasing in aspect, like the compassion a mother feels for her only child when he is suffering. With respect to the measure of having generated bodhicitta, it is not immeasurable love and compassion, since even Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas have that. In this context, just that is not sufficient. Instead, in addition to that, you must generate superior intention that assumes the responsibility for accomplishing the benefit and happiness of all living beings, after which you must develop an uncontrived aspiration to attain complete enlightenment for the welfare of all living beings. Therefore, as I explained earlier, if each time you see a living being, you spontaneously give rise to mind thinking, I shall attain enlightenment for their welfare, then you have generated bodhicitta. The root text of 7-point mind training by Geshe continues and states the following. Point 5, the measure of having trained the mind. The root text is, the intent of all dharmas converges into a single point. There aren't any scriptures of the Concord contained within the Hinayana and Mahayana that are not embodied by the methods presented in mind training, or in other words, the means of subduing self-grasping. Therefore, the Dharma practitioner is someone who progresses toward the means of subduing self-cherishing, and a mind training meditator must be able to harm self-cherishing. If you are a Dharma practitioner, there should be indications that your afflictive emotions are not increasing in size. For example, at Dragkirpa, J. Tsokapa saw with his own eyes 2 retreatants who were staying above and below each other, yet who would criticize each other. We must make sure we don't become like that. In particular, if our meditation on bodhicitta through equalizing and exchanging self with others is effective, there should be a reduction in our self-cherishing. Mind training is like a scale weighing the effectiveness of the Dharma practitioner to determine whether or not he or she is reducing our self-cherishing. We profess how utterly amazing clairvoyance and miraculous powers are, and if a person can fly through the sky or go underwater or under the ground, we treat him or her as though he or she is actually the Buddha. However, there is nothing particularly amazing about these things at all. We do not need to be anything more than a hawk, a mouse, and a fish, and so on to be able to do such things. With respect to clairvoyance, this is something that worldly, non-human beings have, such as gods, nagas, kings, spirits, evil spirits, and so forth. If we propitiate malignant spirits, they can easily deceive foolish worldly beings by accomplishing some minor things. We train in illusions and optical illusions, poisonous substances, evil mantras, and so forth. We will receive similar signs of attainment and be able to engage in sudden miraculous displays and deception. However, these days, most people who engage in such things have mentally forsaken their next lives in the world and deceive many others by employing numerous ways of devoting themselves to the means of accomplishing food and clothes for this life. Previously, through the power of the dependent relationship of substances and mantras, an acharya from India could make finger torments out of rocks by relying upon a familial lineage of employing numerous evil mantras and the blood of a rock-eating frog. Even the sheep and goats that would eat the grass where he lived was able to leave their hoof prints in stone and so forth, which comes from nothing other than the nature of dependent relationship. Even miraculous signs and clairvoyance do not contribute even a fraction to our progression along the paths and paths of Sutra and Tantra and are without essence. Geshe Potoa asked Geshe Dontopa, what is the demarcation line between dharma and non-dharma? Dontopa replied, if it serves as an antidote to the afflictive emotions, it is dharma. If it doesn't, it is not dharma. If that is what dharma is, whether or not we cut our hair or change our clothes, and whether or not we perform recitation and so forth, is not the determining factor. Practicing dharma depends on the mind and serves as an antidote to the afflictive emotions. Previously, many Tibetans say, we are going to investigate Panchen Chakra Sri. Geshe Gungyal said, although he is a great scholar, if you must investigate, don't go with such an intention. If you are going to make preparations to go, once you turn your intentions around, your application of study and contemplating the Dharma should serve as an antidote to destroy the afflictive emotions. You should go because you are on the verge of lessening your afflictive emotions. I don't need to go into the presence of Panchen Chakra because my afflictive emotions have already been diminished. After consideration, I'm not going. The sign of having studied is being pacified and subdued. The sign of attainment is a lessening of afflictive emotions. If our practice of Dharma reduces the imprints of our afflictive emotions and self-cherishing, the Dharma has become Dharma, and this is a sign that we have penetrated the essential meaning of mind training and is the real sign of attainment. The root text states, uphold the principle of the 2 witnesses. Regarding the 2 witnesses as Dharma protectors, we need the witnesses of both self and others. Therefore, although we may not be despised by others, from the 2 witnesses of self and others, the principal one is to be able to serve as your own witness. If we examine from an unbiased perspective, it's not necessary to be ashamed of ourselves. For example, Although another person may consider you an excellent Dharma practitioner, just ignore him, for he has no way of knowing. However, you also shouldn't have thoughts such as, I'm the worst person, I have all these various faults. Furthermore, Nagarjuna's literature friend states, understand that the actions of human beings are like mangoes. They can be unripe and yet appear ripe, be ripe yet appear unripe, be unripe and appear unripe, or ripe or appear ripe and be ripe. Thus, there are four mutations, such as being ripe on the outside and ripe on the inside, and so on, using a mango as a metaphor for the best, middling, and worst persons. Therefore, like a mango fruit that is both ripe on the outside and ripe on the inside, it is important outwardly to have pure conduct that is subdued, and internally to abide in pure view and the conduct of moral discipline, view, meditation, compassion, and so forth. J. Kung Dang Jampalyan Rinpoche stated, feather your experience of compassion, hide them deep within, and be as sly and cunning as a cat. Thus keep any honor and gain or fame and glory that come your way in your innermost heart. Although internally you may be a Dharma practitioner, if your conduct is crude, it will serve as a cause for the many others who rely upon you to go to the lower realms. In particular, Chandra Goman's 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vow states that the 15th secondary Bodhisattva vow downfall states, not avoiding a bad reputation. Thus, we
Lama, Geshe is here.
Thank you.
Yeah, please have a seat. Sanje chodan soje chonan janjo bando dan dage chushe je persona. Lola benja sanje ando bara sho sanje chodan janjo bando dan janjo je dage chushe je persona lola benja sanje chodan soje chonan janjo bando dan janjo dage chushe je persona. Lola penja sanje ando sho parliament me aje omodo aje la jola jojo no sanje solo rodo shije de jo ba ta shije tambe chuni je ne de she namo ala ega danu dane je ge chobo da me ega no da ro ko jan da tamje ke do da ge che ten do 강게 도저히 손에 따와던 점 보면서 담배 주는 데도 막 담배 막 저저 oh yeah. So thank you very much for praying for Ryan's surgery. So Ryan is doing well for recovering. Maybe long medicine Buddha mantra 3 times, then the rest 21 short mantra. So for Ryan's quick recovery. Okay.
So let's start with the verse of praise. I'll go on with equal compassion for all. Dispels the suffering of the low realms. Dispelled of disease and the 3 poisons. I prostrate the medicine Buddha, sapphire light. Did you say, I'm sorry, Geshe, did you say 7 of the long ones and
Three long one, rest.
Oh, 3, okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanje Guru Bedurya Tabarazaya Tathagata Arhate Samyaksam Buddhaya Teata Om Bekanje Maha Bekanje Raja Samugate Soha Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanje Guru Bedurya Tabarazaya Tathagata Arhate Samyaksam Buddhaya Teata Om Bekanje Maha Bekanje Namugate Soha Om Namo Bhagavate Bekanje Guru Bedurya Jabarataya Tatakataya Arhate Samaksam Buddhaya Teata Om Bekanje Maha Bekanje Raja Samugate Soha. Teata Om Bekanje Maha Bekanje Raja Samugate Soha.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Oh. Mhm. Almost today there's an obstacle for the class because internet went out. So the Dramasi came, the rescue. So because graduates should go to Dramasi. So she came here. So now I'm happy that we don't need to cancel the class. So today, no. Lamala, good evening. Elise, good evening. Helen, good evening. Nico, good evening. Cameron, good evening. Govina, good evening. Domestic, good evening. Panditji Pati, good evening. Michael, good evening. Renee, good evening. Lee, good evening. Neely, good evening. David, good evening. Karen, good evening. Or anybody watching on YouTube, good evening. Any questions?
Yes, Geshe, this is a question that I got after class last week. It's not tied to a particular spot in the text, but the question is, how absolute is it to exchange oneself for others? Is it absolute that only suffering comes from primarily thinking of one's own well-being first? Is the ultimate goal to 100% think of others' well-being first?
This is sparkling water, no beer. So, so something to think about, very good question, something to think about. Many great masters said, Jiden dewa chineba tegun shende, tekun shende dele chus. Jiden dewa chineba, each and every happiness in the universe comes from cherishing others. So that's what the great master said. All the problem complications comes from only thinking about yourself. So this is what great master said, and based on that statement, please use your own brain. Think, is that true? Or is that like false or true? Something that you need to analyze. Rani Jinjin, Guba Kunjiku, Rani Jinjin, Guba Kunjikos. Cherishing only oneself is the draw through all the problems. Benjen Lopsa Chujin said in Guru Puja, Rani Jinjin, Guba Manam Chesu, Yinde Kunjishis. Cherishing other is the foundation of all the positive qualities, mental qualities. Therefore, therefore, yoga of exchanging oneself with other take that as your primary practice. Take that as your primary practice. Cherishing only oneself is draw to all the problems. Cherishing other is the foundation of all the positive mental qualities. Therefore, yoga of exchanging oneself with others. So that yoga, you should or you must embrace the yoga or practice or consider that practice as your primary practice. That's what Pendulum Chuji said in the Guru Puja Lamrim part. Then another Rani Chebar Jumbi, Chonen this. Only cherishing oneself is like chronic disease, it never been healed. It's considered as a chronic disease, never been healed till now. You must see that is source of all the complications, all the problem rise. That's the source. Not your neighbor, not your wife, not your husband, not your father, not your mother, not your relatives. That's what we think. That's called ignorance. It's not wisdom. That's called ignorance. Never-ending game. Never-ending game. Doing in this life, probably do the same thing again in the next life. Never ends. You must see that is like why you don't feel like mentally, physically healthy, because there's chronic disease that never been healed. Cherishing. What is that disease? Chronic disease. Cherishing only yourself. Thinking only about yourself. That is considered as a disease. Never been healed. So that thinking only about yourself, that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset is your target to subdue, eradicate best. If not subdue, one's own happiness will begin. One's own happiness will begin. The minute you do that, then your own happiness starts. Then you're kind of begging, please bless me to destroy this, kind of mindset. It's causing so much problems. You're kind of requesting a blessing to destroy that kind of mindset. And requesting that your heart filled with compassion, love, kindness. It's good for you, it's good for everybody. Okay, something to think about. Very good questions. So that's the questions? Is that the questions?
Yes, Geshe.
Yeah. So I'm not asking you to believe, but just based on the statements from Penchen Lobsang Chujin, the statement from the many great master, just think and ask yourself question, is that true? Why my life is getting so complicated? Why there are so many complications, so many problems? Does it boil down onto the mindset that you're only thinking of yourself? That's all. There's nothing for others. There's zero for others. Everything, going out, going to park, meeting someone at a cafe, everything has to be about yourself. Is that true? So that mindset, just analyze, just do analytical meditations, analyze each and every event that took place in the past, is taking now, is maybe to take place in the near future, and be mindful and analyze thoroughly why you have, experiencing difficulties, problem, complication. Does that boils down because maybe you didn't realize, maybe because that's caused by only thinking about yourself, the cause. Other people, happiness, joy, whatever joy, degree of joy, pleasure, happiness that other people receive from you, causes by not the kind of mindset that only think about yourself. No. That's caused by altruistic attitude. That's caused by altruistic attitude. So that brings more friends. People are less afraid to be around you. People feel more comfortable being around you. Because every word that comes out of your mouth is noble. Every thought that rises in your mind is noble. Every action you do is like noble. So you get immense benefit by doing that. You get immense benefit. Indirectly, a lot of people get also benefit. I think I remember what Dr. Martin Luther King said on quotations. I remember reading that one of the center members sent it to me. Remember now reading that, but I haven't answered. I haven't answered to him, but I will answer, but it'll take some time. But I've been thinking. So he said in this quotation, like, injustice directly affects you, indirectly affects other. Injustice. Same thing, justice directly affect you, indirectly affect other people. Same thing. Only thinking about, I'm just transforming it, only thinking about yourself directly affects you, indirectly affects other people. Cherishing other directly affects you, indirectly affects other. Same thing, the switch the word, same thing, that's very much true, that's very true. So, very good questions. So thank you, whoever asked this question. Very good questions, okay? Yeah, so every morning when I wake up, so for the trying very hard to think, today I'm not going to destroy anybody's happiness. So I may not see many people probably as you do. I do see some people here there, but probably not many as you do. Yeah, probably you have more challenge. You have more challenge because, but that's the kind of commitment I try to remind myself every day. The best, I will make them happy, whatever ways. Verbal, physical, mental, make them happy. And I will rejoice. But restrain destroying their happiness. So then I consider that's like good day, meaningful day, fruitful day. So then I encourage myself and do the same thing tomorrow, if possible. With mindful, very mindful, okay? Then what else?
There are no more questions right now, Geshe.
Okay, so now, Alhamdulillah, where we stop? Which part you're reading?
Day 29.
Oh,
We are into point 5, the measure of having trained the mind. And
25.
there were a few pages into that. It's after the quote by J. Kuntag Jampalyang Rinpoche, tether your experience of compassion and hide them deep within and be as sly and cunning as a cat. So it's after that quote.
Cause where's the cat? Day 29?
Yes, Geshe-la.
Oh, day 28. So then
After point 5.
from 29, the point. Point 5. Please bear with me a few minutes.
It's after Nagarjuna talks about the mangoes.
Oh, today there's a lot of things, mangoes and cats.
Yes.
There's Geshe Temba Poto finish. After that, probably.
Let's see.
I remember reading from like Geshe Poto, Geshe Temba said something to Geshe Poto. Does that ring any bell?
Yeah, they have very short quotes.
Sign of whether your Lojong practice is working or not working.
Yes.
That's also finished.
Well, the part where you
You already read that, Namula.
destroying the afflictive emotions or not. If it's decreasing afflictive emotions, then it's dharma.
So you are already finished that.
That part. And then there's the root text, uphold the principle of the two witnesses.
Okay, now I'm somewhere here. So I'm in the was now. Called
And then Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, quote, about the mangoes being ripe or unripe.
okay, so I'm there. I already found that. So
Then after that, there's a quote by J. Guntang Jampaoyang about the cat.
okay, so I'm here now. Okay, so you are there. You still there?
Yes, Geshe.
Tago ninje nyamdu. Ani chile jamge demba. Chile jamge demba. Irim. Ninje nyamdu. Rangkong pus juice. Ninje nyamdu rangkong rangkong. Rang la nyegu nyenda wangju shipuzu chuknes. Shengo da zechu chi chobata tuto yinyamji sochibi chili yodan tawa tata chame. So a point here like it's like not being honest with yourself, with your practice, the primary cause, not being honest. It's hard. In there's like, unfortunately, there is like tendency in our mind stream since from beginningless time to till now. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like beginningless time to till now, there's so much tendency. It's not easy things. It's not easy being clear, being clean inside out. It's not easy. Not easy things. That require like a lot of dedications. So that's the primary reason. I think that's the core, that's the origins, pretending something that actually you are not. And sometimes you forget that because so thick, you can even not aware that you are under the cloud. And like, basically lack of mindfulness. Chube suji, chumi chesi bes. Chube su looks like a religious person, looks very much like a religious person, and doing something that's not religious. Yeah, so there are many causes. One, that you are not convinced the practice of karma is correct, 100% correct. You are not 100% convinced. So this part one opponent. Why someone looks like a religious person, why they do something that's not religious. But too much knowledge, very little meditations, very little practice. too much knowledge, very little practice. Maybe lack of understanding of the deeper understanding of what is impermanent. May believe that you are going to be here forever. Maybe that's one thing, that like not thinking about death and impermanent probably causes that. Not having like conviction, faith into causality, teaching of karma, probably that's one that cause. Looks very much like a religious person, but doing the things that's not totally against religions. So that's the meaning here. There's the meaning. So, so there's a Geshe Bengunja. Used to be a robber, bandit, robber, and rob people during the daytime and night probably. Then they act like thief. Anyway, so eventually something happened, some kind of incident took place in his life. Met one woman and like minute telling his name, that kind of woman that fainted. People were so afraid of him. And being Guja, he didn't realize that people were so afraid of him, so afraid of him. He didn't realize that. Then that incidents like shook him from deep down. So then eventually he became monk. He get ordained. And so of course then that lay people comes, make offerings, because you meditate all day long, read Dharma. One time there's one of the benefactors coming to his, wherever he's staying, come from in the cave or some kind of shade. So then he thought, okay, maybe I should make something that's is not usually what it looks like. So maybe put more flour on the altar, make it more clean, altar looks very like attractive, something like that. Make a set of offerings, then he sit down. It's not really genuine. He's not really making offerings out of devotion. He's making this. He realized, when he sit down, he realized he's doing all of that is for the benefactor that about to visit. So he grabbed like a handful of dust, throw on all the offerings and make it all dusty. So then say, he's telling himself, if you pretend, so that's what you get. You get full handful of dust. That's what you get. If you pretend. So then he said, okay, then he said, that's good now. That's the real. The before is kind of fake. This is not real. So then someone else, some higher Lama realized that Bengu just did that. So then during the teaching, then he kind of like Lama said, oh, people make a lot of offerings. The Bengunja offering is the best. And then probably some student asked, why you say this is best? Because he's just throw a handful of dust on offerings. He said Bengunja managed to throw a handful of dust into the mouth of outwardly concerned. Make sense? Like praise, oh, so happy, criticize, come down, or receive something happy, not receiving something, feel bad. There's like, it's called like outwardly dharma or outwardly concern. Outwardly concern. So you can look up, or maybe you can ask Alhamdulillah. So anyway, so it's like kind of like So that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Shengu zechuj choboda to do inyamj. So I'm not sure why the Jekum, what they call like yo. I'm not sure Chile jumping them. Yeah, cat go like meow, meow, meow. There's a cat, doesn't sound bad. I think it sounds kind of pleasant. Cat meow, meow, like it's not like wow, wow, wow. Cat go meow, meow. But the sound meow, meow doesn't guarantee there's compassions. So meow, meow, pick it out all of a sudden, because there's, I think the pleasant sound or smooth sound, there's no guarantee. It sounds kind of like smooth or kind of very like, this, so you can like, never know what it maybe all of a sudden, like, so that's like the example they use. It's a cat. DJ, today she was Chila Chabame Nangming, so now then somebody else, there's like counter argument. Somebody else said, oh, the inside is more important, inside. Outside doesn't matter. Outside does matter. Somebody just saying, Chila Chabame Nangming, inside has to be ripened with like, inside should not be raw, it needs to be ripened. Outside, probably like, do whatever you want to do, probably not good advice. What do you say? I don't think it's good advice. Not because in the chi kunjo kanju cheba mirundes, you can, because ethics is necessary. Morality is necessary. Or guarding three door is necessary. Guarding three door, guarding them precisely is necessary. It's necessary, make sure that doesn't come out something that hurts you, hurts people. Guarding that precisely is necessary. It's not just important, it's also necessary. Thinking something negative, guarding that is not just important, it's necessary. Now, children, Merunde, Nang Choba in la Kunju Zingbo, Chene, Rang la Tene, Shin, Mambo, Niazung, de Juchesus. To act like that you are doing some form of spiritual practice, but your conduct not just leads many other people leads into the wrong directions. That's the risk if you do. Or just say, inside needs to be ripened. The outside doesn't matter, you can do, then that's probably not good. Okay, Sabar Chansim Jiza, Taba Mai, Takpa Mai Mibonshins. Sabar Chansim Jiza, Takpa Mai Mibonshins, so that Shinji maybe Judu Rikla Zende Shidua Chagras. Shinji maybe, yeah, so it's important to be mindful. Any of your conduct, if that conduct becomes the cause for other people's criticism, because other people criticize you because of some of your conduct, is not ethical. So then, that you need to be more careful, more mindful, because you're just creating the cause other people to criticize you. So then, for them criticizing, it's also negative karma. You become the cause for that. That's also not good. So therefore, you have to be very mindful. Okay, that's what I said. Well, trouble is that Shinji maybe due to them the Shishitua Chakras. nganzu nyabata chawa mai bache na choje sanje tamje da chujo suma inje kajo re la chunji chiji shebata pazo chas ken jas so nabe jas it's not because like somebody watching, doesn't matter somebody watching or not watching, so you do your practice. If somebody watching, then you do. Somebody not watching, then you don't do. It's not like that. Your personal spiritual practice should not be like that. And your personal practice of ethics or morality should not be like that. So it basically needs to be mindful or conscientious. So, Donna Rangi Rala Chemigo Badans. Yeah, so that's what I say, it's not easy. Being honest with yourself, not easy thing to do. Why? Because since from beginning this time to till now, there's a lot of tendency need to purify, so it's not easy. Lama Jawa Seji Singoya too much of a girls, so like nothing to be embarrassed, that's what I do. Whether there's a people, if there's no people, that's what I do. If there's a people, that's what I do. If there's no people, that's what I do. Nothing to embarrass, inside out. It's clear what you're doing, something like that. Not easy to do, but no, that's the best thing to do. Not the easiest thing to do, that's the best thing to do. It's not the easiest thing to do, but that's the best thing to do. So we as a human, we can try. That's all we can do. We can try. Ta kaji la chu nyamne che minuja dig misoba ranga dena sang nyamba milontes. Now somebody else, there's someone else idea. Oh, inside needs to be ripened. That means the inside needs to be good. Outside content doesn't matter. Somebody else says, but it's not the best idea. Now somebody else has another idea here. Chu nyamne che minuja. Even though you can practice dharma, the one is don't create negative karma. You can just do probably, you don't need to do dharma practice, but don't create negative karma, so then just live like that. So that someone else said that's good thing. That's the probably good things to do. There's somebody else idea here. Tatenje, tata tanjuji militobs. Lama sanji mutabachi, dongaji yonzoji tempada jevi tudi, chuma zoba, sato da chi shugwebes, gobo to the tanju tendency chase. Tia jagadana mirundes. So then there's somebody else's idea, probably not a good idea. Somebody else's opinion. Why is not a good idea? Because now you receive this precious human life. The very life that you have is called precious human life. You met the Lama whom teach you. So met also the teachings, Lama Tsongkhapa teachings, there's like complete form of Buddha's teaching, Lama Tsongkhapa teaching. This is all like to encourage yourself, Yeah, if you really want to do something, if you really want to do the best thing for yourself, this is the perfect time. Maybe this is the only chance we got. Only chance. At least start the journey. Don't think that journey will start itself. It's probably never going to start itself. You have to initiate. So now, somehow, we become human this life. You have this marvelous brain that you can learn. Met Lama Tsongkhapa teaching, which is like complete form of entire Buddha's teachings. Something, something to use those what do you call those message is kind of like encourage yourself, So don't discourage, encourage yourself daily basis. So you have to make this life meaningful as possible. Even not 24 hours, 7 days a week, something, every day, something. At least remind yourself. At least remind yourself that this is precious. You can't just waste. You have to be skillful how to use this. You can't just waste, So make sure this precious human doesn't just get slipped through your hand by doing nothing good that you will be proud of, other people will be proud of, doing only something that people look down on you, you yourself don't feel good. No, so that's not living meaningful life. So this is precious. Make sure this precious that you don't waste. At least remind yourself. Yeah. So that's all encouragement. Encouraging reading and to remind yourself verbally saying, Geshe, this is precious. The very life that you have is precious. Remember, it's very precious. Why? If you want to start the journey, this is the best time to start. If you want to achieve liberation, this is the best opportunity you got. If you want to achieve full enlightenment, this is the opportunity you got. At least start. At least start. Encouragement, the kind of like encouragement, self-encouragement. You can reach highest happiness because of this form. Why are you being miserable? That's like completely wasting your precious human life. Don't you remember that you have potentials to become enlightened? Why are you just being miserable? Why you're torturing yourself? Why you're looking down on yourself? Why you're hating yourself? Oh, this is all not good, not good. So then it's like completely wasting the precious human life. No, so this is the life that you must think something good. You are capable, 100% capable to think something good. Why you don't think good? It's like of your own happiness. If you want to think good, this is the best chance you got. Think now. You can't wait. Think now. This is the best chance you got. If you happen to be like animals, you can't think like humans do. Something good. How hard is it going to be just thinking, I'm going to read Lamrim in that form? Almost impossible. Unfortunately, almost impossible. Did you ever heard the cat and dog say, I'm going to read Lamrim? It's hard. It's hard. That's the only form that you can say, this is the only form. That's why this life is precious. I'm going to say a few mantras because some of my friends are getting sick. Only happen in this form. That's why this is precious. This is precious. I read the meeting of Lama Tsongkhapa about teachings like complete form of entire Buddha's teaching. I feel so fortunate. We can only do because of this life. Without this life, I feel so good because I've been taking care of these people, You can only do in this form, no other form. That's why this life is precious, very precious. At least remind something. So at least remind yourself, so First question, do you believe in goodness? Do you believe in goodness? Do you like to do something good? Do you like to say something nice? Do you like to think something good? Do you like to do something physical, something good? The answer is yes, this is the only chance you got. This is the best time to do. This is the best time to do. Can't wait around, can't wait. Oh, this is the only time to go. Oh. It makes you, why people do, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. So we need to feel good. We don't need to feel bad. We need to feel good. We need to be encouraged. We need to be inspired. We need to feel good. If it's possible all the time, if not at least few times, at least few times, you know, at least few times a day, at least. If not like a couple of hours, at least few times a day, remind yourself that your life is precious. You can think something positive, you can say something positive. Can't wait right now, right now. So, there's many different ways to think. You don't just think, oh, I met Dharma, I met Lama Tsongkhapa, or maybe that's the only way. No, that's not the only way. There's many other ways you can think same thing. This is very profound way, you know. There's many other ways you can think, you know. Oh, I'm helping these people. I kind of enjoy helping these people to only happen in this form, the human form. You can't even help, you can, animals do help. I don't think they think like, oh, I'm so happy that I help. I don't think they can think like that. But they do help. Their thing is only, that kind of mindset is only happening because of this life. There's many, it could be your husband, could be your wife, you've been taking care of, so these are all good things, it's not you, it's other sentient beings that you've been taking care of. There's pure merit, there's solid pure merit. So now ask yourself, do you feel good helping us, somebody else? The answer is yes, we need to do more. So why? We need to feel good. It's best all the time, all the time. That's how you liberate, okay? Teyata Jakarta na che rangi chawanam ne lamada che lobe so yobara tide chidala nabata chekyo bata. Uju desa chemo namso kata kikenta. That's why in the monastery, there's a system has been set up in the monastery. You do anything, you ask. In the West, you may say, why you ask? Because you are like 18 years old, you are like 19 years old, you are 20 years old. It's not about the age. Not about the age. Because they guide you in the right direction. They guide you in the right directions. That's why you ask. So it's not like, because now you're all grown up, you're independent, you don't need to ask, you can do whatever you want to do. Sorry to say, but look in the West, if everybody's enlightened, because when you grow up, you're 18 years old, then you can do whatever you want to do. Does that make you happy? Does that make you rest of your life kind of happy? Hard to say. No guarantee, no guarantee, no guarantee. Or every single thing I need to do, I need to ask. Does this make you unhappy? No guarantee. No guarantee. Then why some system is set up like that? There's like, everybody's trying to guide everybody in the right directions. It's not Well, so then that's what the last part is, like page again, there was a lot chungju giga samutende to some so to chase. So when I was in the monastery, because I think I'm qualified to talk about this subject because I went to monastery when I was 7 years old. Yeah, I asked everything you do, you need to ask. You need your teacher permissions. So if they give you, if they are not around, what do you do? More like you don't do good things. So my weakness when I was in the monastery, I run after dog all the time. So that caused me a lot of problems because I go after dogs and look at them. Not me personally owned, but my teacher has one dog. So I feel like I need to protect that dog, So I think like that dog needs to be one of the best in the monastery. Actually, it's all depends on karma. It's not just your idea. It's not like somebody's going to be the most powerful because you want your dog to be, but that's it depends on different causes and conditions. There's many other dogs, much more brave than my dogs. This is not my dogs, my teacher dogs. I want my teacher dogs to be one of the most brave dogs in the monastery. So I put a lot of effort for that. So just driven by pure ignorance. I was just a teenager, like 13, 14 years old. So then my teacher don't appreciate it because like whenever they cannot find, if they hear the dogs, 100% guarantee I was there, somewhere there. So that if they hear a lot of dog fighting, they can guarantee I was there, probably there. So I got a lot of trouble in doing that, a lot of troubles, So then of course the monastery owns few donkeys to deliver goods back and forth. So I also chase them because I want to ride them. So then there's not just me, there's few of my friends. When my teacher's not around, that's what you do. You don't memorize, you don't sit in front of the text, memorize. That's what you're supposed to do. So when teacher's not around, when you have freedom, monastery, they not like eating drugs or like this. Beyond there, nobody does that. Riding a donkey, chasing donkey, then running here, running there, chasing dog. These are, not the positive things to do because dog doesn't want to be bothered, so we chase them every direction. So there's the monastery, there's reason why you ask, it's always good. So if the teacher's around, more likely you behave. If teacher's not around, probably you do silly things, silly things will be not be aware. So what time is it now? Thomas, what time?
Oh, Geshe, it's 8:30 now. So
okay.
It's time.
Sorry, so I waste your time just saying nonsense thing about my life in the monastery. So I should read more lines here. Anyway, so yeah. Now this text is almost close to finish or about to finish. How many pages?
We still have 115 more pages.
It looks like we are going backward. That's just joking. So it's 400 pages, now 100. Pretty good. So I hope that you learn many histories. Maybe I think you learn by reading this. This is a good text to read. So whenever Chukila suggested. So I'm happy that we are reading this. Then some of them, just history. So and some of there, so you just get good information. Okay. And thank you each and every one of you coming here every Wednesday night. So some of you go to work all day long, then coming here. I'm not sure if I can do that, if I go to work all day long, then come back to class. Thank you so much. So, and I'm happy to share any knowledge that I have. So then have a wonderful night and see you next Wednesday. Okay.
Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhichitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhutta too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that we may follow their perfect example. We dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication praise of the best by the victorious ones as gone to 3 times so we might perform good works. We dedicate whatever virtues we have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, in particular for the essential teachings of perfect pure Losang Drapa to shine forever. Now the long life prayers, beginning with His Holiness. And the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. The one who mastered his speech at a very young age, the one with great patience who received the name Mamatare, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa and Bliss and Void, Lama ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. Morway, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manchuna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. And then Green Tara mantras for Geshe and Geshe samples, long, healthy, happy lives. Om Tare Tu Re So Ha. 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 Om Tare Tu Re So Ha.
Oh yeah, good night. Thank you, Lamala. Thank you, Namaste. Thank you, every one of you. Good night.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Good night,
Geshe.